Let's talk for a moment about the second book of Gulliver's Travels, A Voyage to Brobdingnag. Now, in this book, as we can see, the tables are entirely reversed. What was an enormous Gulliver traveling in the land of the tiny Lilliputians is now the tiny Gulliver in the land of the enormous Brobdingnagians. Now, if you figure it out from the clues that Swift gives us, the Brobdingnagians must be somewhere around 60 feet tall. Now, this makes for a number of interesting comparisons, of course, on Swift's part, but one of obviously the most interesting is the idea that Gulliver gets a female beauty. Now, anyone knows that you look better usually from a distance. The closer you get to the human face, the more let's say, little aberrations and pits and whatever you can see. So when Gulliver is placed immediately next to one of these giant beauties, he's totally repulsed. I mean, they look beautiful to the other Brobdingnagians, but he's close enough to see them, warts and all. Now, most important, perhaps, in this book is Gulliver's sense of right and wrong. In the first book, the Lilliputians were the small-minded ones, the ones who wanted to use Lemuel Gulliver as a war machine to destroy their enemies. In this book, it is the small Gulliver who is the most bloodthirsty one. We notice that it mentions a book that the Brobdingnagians have that says in these later modern times that people have gotten smaller and smaller, so now there are only these tiny abortive births, and in the past the giants were the most moral ones, whereas the little ones are really bloodthirsty insects. And Gulliver, trying to show off for the giant king, for the Brobdingnagian king, tells him about gunpowder and cannon, the greatest inventions of Gulliver's civilization, with which he says that they're able to tear up the pavement, the houses to pieces, burst and throw splinters on every side, dashing out the brains of all who came near. And that Gulliver says he knows the ingredients to this very well, so that the king's men could fashion cannon and powder and cannonballs and blow all of their enemies to smithereens and dash their brains out. Now, the giant king is repulsed by this. He's repulsed by the very idea that Gulliver can describe it and be so unmoved by the idea of dashing people's brains out, and also by this race of little insects that Gulliver must come from. In other words, the Europeans like you and I, who would fashion such horrible creatures, such horrible engines against nature as cannon and gunpowder. It's an interesting story. It's certainly one of the most powerful of Swift's 4 books of Gulliver's Travels.